One. All right, everyone. Happy Wednesday, and welcome to another edition of the Albert's List webinar series. It is now the middle of spring, so as you can see, the nice bright sunshine of Southern California is radiating to my right. So today we're here talking about a topic that I think is going to be very relatable to a lot of millennials as and even Gen Z and probably even Gen Xers as the economy continues to shift. And so today I want to talk about how you balance entrepreneurship and your 9 to 5 job. And this is a very important topic because even if you just look casually around a lot of millennials today, you'll notice that the 9 to 5 is now complemented by a lot of work that people decide to do on the side, whether it's drive an Uber, drive a Lyft, or even to go in and do freelancing work. I know early on in my career, I was very much into doing social media consulting in addition to my day job, and there's still some consulting that I do on the side for a variety of different clients that aren't in the space of my 9 to 5 job. And so for today, we've decided to bring in Zach Schleien, who, as you know, we had on a couple weeks ago. He's author of Hacking the Internship Process, a graduate of Syracuse University up in upstate New York. And we're here with him today because we want to talk about how to balance entrepreneurship and the 9 to 5, because he's not only someone who has written this book, but he also balances a job at a Fortune 500 company. And he also has founded his own company called LIFT Protein Muffins, which for those of you who are into paleo and an alternative healthy lifestyle when it comes to on-the-go eating and eating food, that you'll probably more be excited to learn about. So Zach, welcome to the show again, and welcome back.
Well, thanks a lot, Albert, for having me. Pleasure being here.
Yeah, it's great to kind of watch the story of LIFT Protein Muffins. I've had a couple of them come through my Facebook news feed. And by the way, also for those of you who do have questions, feel free to leave them in the comments section below. We'll get to them as we go through. And so, Zach, let me know if I covered everything, because I think with a lot of millennials these days, our day job is not just our only thing anymore, where we have multiple titles and multiple hats. It's almost kind of like we run our lives like a startup. So walk me through everything that you do, and make sure that I didn't forget anything.
Like in terms of what I'm currently doing, or a day in the life of Zach? Which one?
Yeah, see, that's how it goes, right? So tell me what you do for your day job as well as your side hustle.
Yep. So I work for Johnson & Johnson. I'm in their IT leadership development program. I'm concluding my first rotation, beginning my second. Right now, I'm on the team called Emerging Technologies, where it's in pharma R&D, pharmaceuticals. And my responsibility is to support scientists in our cloud environment to do the research and development.
Okay.
On the side of J&J, like you said, I co-founded a company with my mom called LIFT Protein Muffins. It's a gluten-free paleo muffin that serves as a meal replacement. So it's really just a quick way to grab yourself a healthy meal. And then I also recently was published. I co-authored a book with Bill Hobbs called Hacking the Internship Process. So it's a way to help students with a series of methods and hacks to land their dream internship.
Great. And so tell us how you landed into all of this, because I know that like working at a Fortune 500 like a Johnson & Johnson and running food startups, which are intense in themselves, are things that you don't just fall into if you just wake up one day and say, I want to do this. There's a lot of work that goes into it. So tell me how all of this came to be.
Yeah, so I was given a scholarship by Syracuse University, so it was really awesome to basically work on a startup while going to school. My first startup didn't end up working out. Started a second startup, and before starting it though, I was working. I'm really close to my mom. Always have been really into health and nutrition, and we were in the kitchen just thinking about different ideas. And we thought about this idea to make a muffin. And a paleo muffin, of course. And I was like, why not add protein? because I've never seen anything like that. I mean, I see protein bars and shakes, which have a lot of like soy or different fillers and a lot of sugar, like processed sugar. Or even if they don't use sugar, it's a lot of chemicals. So you look in the ingredients, you don't know what they are. So we started LIFT Protein Muffins, and it didn't come overnight. This has been 2.5 years in the making. We basically, how we first started was starting with our banana chocolate muffin, which has 18 grams of protein, and we created 10 different iterations of our banana chocolate muffin.
Wow.
In our kitchen, it was myself, my mom, and my dad. And we tried every single muffin just down this line, and we would take notes like, oh, too sweet, too dry, and we perfected our banana chocolate. So that's how we came up with our first muffin. And then from there, we did a Kickstarter campaign. Before the Kickstarter, we surveyed a lot of people, gave them free muffins, see if people even wanted it, if they would even purchase it, did the Kickstarter. And now we have a manufacturer who does our production. And then while I was working and starting up LIFT, at the same time I was looking for a job. Right before graduation, I landed a job with Johnson & Johnson, and so super fortunate to have that. So now it's working both on the side. And then with my book, I started that about 1.5 years ago and wrote a lot on the weekends, and I had a publisher and editor. And just chipped away at it until we finally published it on Amazon about a month ago.
And so, as somebody who's young and full of energy, given that you make protein muffins that have so much energy kicked into them, is this something that you just kind of woke up one day and said that you just wanted to do, or is it something that has just been kind of gradually coming up? And for those who are watching this webinar, how do you suggest and go about with them and say selecting the right kind of side hustle?
Yeah, so I've always been into food. Like since I was like 3, I would we'd go out to dinner. I used to live in Florida, and we'd go to this place called Captain's Tavern, and I would be the little kid who wouldn't get fish sticks. I would get a full-on trout and eat the full-on trout. So I've always been really not with food, love food, and I saw like healthy alternatives and read a lot, and I just was always really passionate about it. Any type of article, any type of book I wanted to get my hands onto, and also just kind of experimenting. So I'm really into how to just optimize myself, because I mean, you see food and nutrition such an important part of just your day to day. And if I see you're not eating healthy or not taking care of yourself, how can the other areas of your life be at their optimum? So I think it's really a balance, and food touches everyone. And I'm really into sharing and educating the consumer and delivering a healthy product. And it's kind of what the meaning of LIFT Protein Muffins is for those really those busy professionals, whether you're a student or a professional, whether you have a job or you're raising kids that are always on the go, and they could still have a healthy meal without having to jeopardize their health for like fast food, let's say. So again, I've always been really into health and nutrition, so it was a pretty easy area to kind of fall into. And like I said, I was kind of brainstorming, which may not be the status quo. I'm not quite sure. It's not like I woke up one day and I was like, oh, it was definitely an iteration, and a lot of pivots have been made in terms of direction. We actually started with chocolate first, even before
chocolate. Okay.
And
so you were thinking of doing chocolate brownies, chocolate muffins. What's the deal there?
Chocolate bars, and we realized.
Oh wow! Okay.
Some high-end equipment to make Paleo chocolate, and our chocolate. So we pivoted to muffins. So I think it's when you think about, let's say you're thinking of starting a business or even a blog, something to do on the side. And I see these side hustles as also a way to advance your skill set and to do something that's pretty awesome on the side. So like when you're having a conversation with friends, when your friends are like, oh, I like to watch Netflix, what do you do? And it's like, oh, I run a business, or I have a blog. And it's like, it makes you also more interesting, and it makes you a way to contribute as well. So I think
I'm just thinking because the irony of this is that in terms of this entire webinar in itself is that this is both of our side hustles on display right here. Me with Albert's List and you with your muffins.
exactly. And for you, about helping people
Yeah.
in your career, and that's like one of the reasons like you start Albert's List, and that's why you're so strong. It is so easy to burn out. It's so easy to just stop what you're doing. Because guess what? If you're working on like a side project that you really commit to, it requires a lot of time. And
And I mean, I'm actually sitting here in the office that I work most days for my company, and so I'm sitting here doing this webinar kind of after hours. But yeah, I mean, it's definitely a really interesting experience, and I think for any of those who really want to do both, I think that kind of the digital economy these days gives you that kind of opportunity where being able to, I think, work during the day and, work late in the night. I think it's something that for those of us who have seen Gary Vaynerchuk at one point or another, hear him talking about that for those under 30 who have no kids and aren't tied down at all, can just do these kind of things where they're up until 2, 3 a.m. in the morning and just creating some more.
so, and I want to just interject. So I think there's
Feel free.
definitely a thought that you have to stay up really late. You have to eat like crap. You can't
We'll jump into that, I think. Yeah, the work-life balance of it all, right?
Yeah, so like for me, I mean, we could touch upon this later. I just want to, when you say you have to stay up till 2 or 3, I don't think that's necessarily the case. Some people are night owls. Like, go for it.
Sure.
Totally. Late, go for it. But some people do their best work when they wake up early and go to sleep not super late. So I think it depends on you. But I don't think you have to jeopardize your health to have a side hustle. Whether this side hustle is to make money, so you could do it so you don't have to work anymore and have a boss anymore, or unless you raise VC, you'll always have. Or unless
you'll always have a boss. There's this misconception that you can work for yourself, but in essence, you're really working for your investors or working for your customers. So you never stop working for, I guess, yourself, for anyone else, unless you really do something that you don't have to touch whatsoever. Yeah. So actually, let's jump right into the whole balance thing, because one thing I think I want to structure this webinar is I want to talk about how you balance everything and how you prevent burnout. And then I want to kind of jump into the whole notion of, what ideas are out there today for maybe somebody who's watching. We have about 18 people. This will get about 2,000 views. But for those people who stay on long enough, I really want to talk about, too, like what sort of ideas are out there for folks that may be low cost, because it used to be a long time ago where starting your own business meant you might have to set up a storefront, or you might have to pay hundreds and hundreds of dollars for a PO box. But today you can just jump online, you can start a WordPress page in under 5 minutes, and in a half hour you're literally cooking with something once you enter in, say, like a Shopify marketplace. And I want to talk about that a little bit too, and just kind of throw that around, because I think those are ideas and takeaways that I think a lot of people can probably leave a talk like this with. So let's start first with the balance aspect. So, I think you're roughly my age, probably a little younger. You have a lot of energy. I think you take good care of yourself. Plus, you're working at a Fortune 500. And so I'm curious, like in the efforts of, growing up, I think is a lot different now, and growing older is a lot different now, where, maybe if you and I were doing this like 30 years ago, we'd be going home to our kids sitting in traffic, hoping that our wife has something on the table for us. But that's not the case anymore. I read this article on Bloomberg yesterday that, over, I think, nearly 40% of 24 to 35-year-olds are not really interested in getting married. And I think one aspect of it is because people are paying off all their loans and they're doing that stuff. But the other aspect is the side hustle. And so, my rambling aside, tell me how you balance your life when it comes to running your side hustle, and how do you make time for yourself and reflective thought?
Yeah. So again, I want to just harp upon that you
Sure.
don't have to do everything if you have a side hustle. I think that's like really important. And
Sure.
people do give up everything because they want to stay up all hours of the night and they believe they have to work every single second on their side hustle. But I believe it's different, and I've tried both ways, and I feel it's much more effective to have balance. So for me, I think it's really important to be organized and understand what you're looking to accomplish. So I'll give you a little bit about like what I do, like my day in the life of Zach. I think that'll kind of
Yeah, let's walk through it. Tell me when you wake up to when you go to bed, how you handle it all.
So I wake up at 6:30 in the morning, and then I feed my cat. I have my lunch ready to go in the fridge, and I'm going to the gym. So fortunately, I have a gym right at J&J. So I drive. It's about a 40-minute drive, unfortunately. But 40-minute drive, I get to the gym. I work out for an hour. So I have a personalized workout every day for me. I have a trainer, but it's a virtual trainer. So it's really nice. He'll give me my workout. I don't have to think, just see what I need to do. I work out, I shower, I go to work. So I go to work all day, and then I get out, and then I drive home, and then I make and then I'm making dinner around, depends, 6:30, 7 o'clock. And then I eat about an hour cooking, and I cook every day. And I'm cooking where I cook double the amount, so I could bring food to work the next day for lunch. So I'm moving into, again, paleo, and not all the food at the cafeteria is obviously a good alternative. And I get more food when I cook for myself. So I get home, so I said I cook dinner, and then after dinner, I work. So I usually work anywhere. It depends on my energy, and it depends like how in the zone. I mean, there are days where I could work an hour, and there are days where I could work 4 hours, if not longer. On the weekends, I could even work longer. And then, so I believe in health, like extremely important. Like I said, if you're not taking care of yourself and you're not in great shape and eating healthy, how do you expect other areas of your life to be at their optimum? When I work out in the morning, my energy level is higher. I have less stress. I'm able to take in more things. So sometimes when I don't work out, I get stressed over one thing, and I get very myopic. And I find when I work out and release that energy, especially in the morning when I have more energy to work out, I'm able to kind of understand the day as a whole and what I need to take on. It's also very important. And if anyone has any questions, feel free to ask. I think it's also very important for your side hustles, understand what's the most important thing you need to do. So it's like the 80-20 rule. It's like 20% of the stuff. Like, do you know the expression? You know the number? Yeah. So it's like
the 80-20% rule. Yeah.
So you just have to figure out what are the small things that you do that are super important, and that's what I typically do. So oftentimes you could catch yourself just doing busy work just to work, and you don't need to be busy at all times. Just work on the most important things, and it compounds. If you work every day, an hour to 4 hours a day, by the end of 4 months, you'll be amazed. End of 2 years, you'll be amazed at the amount of work you do. I think there's this also preconceived notion to build something in like a day or something successful in a day. Oftentimes it's not the case. Sure, we're living in an age where you could get up, like you said, you could start a blog in a day. You can get your Etsy storefront up in a day. So it's all about just starting and constantly working small increments, and it adds on to itself.
Wonderful. So for you, it's very varied, whether it's working for that 1 or 4 hour period, because you're literally working for yourself.
Yeah. And on the weekends, I think it's very important to give some fun time too. There are evenings where I'm so burnt out where I haven't worked. I just watch Netflix.
I have those kind of days with Albert's List too. Believe me.
It's like, I see it as if I stay up too late, let's say I stay up at 2. I decide to skip the gym. I don't typically do. So let's say I wake up at try to wake up the last minute to not be late for work. I'll
Right.
get 5.5, 6 hours of sleep. It will just destroy me the next day, and then the next day after that. So I just find just stay consistent.
Mhm.
If you're really exhausted, it's a sign. Listen to your body.
Yep. Yeah. I mean, you go to bed and you feel that like
Oh yeah.
that deepening feeling in your chest cavity when you're really tired and
Oh,
exhausted.
exactly. And it's nice just giving some time to yourself. Also, take vacation. Like
Hmm.
I
Absolutely.
believe in taking one awesome monster trip a year. I mean, I only have a certain amount of vacation time for J&J. So last year I
Hmm.
went to South America for about a week without any work, nothing. It was so nice, and it's just important to just refresh. And I know a lot of like young startup companies also offer unlimited vacation. I've heard so many people don't even take vacation. So it's like,
Yeah, I'm one of those that, has a really tough time taking vacation, and it's just it's a lot of crazy things going on at once, and sometimes it's hard to leave your job because of, how you feel about your job, things like that. And so I too would encourage people to take breaks when they need to take breaks.
and
So,
I
mhm,
there's one more thought. Like there is never a good time to take a vacation. You just need to.
no, you
I'm
just need
taking
to
it
set
on this
aside.
day, and maybe you could clear with your manager, whatever the protocol is, if you have a
Hmm.
9 to 5. But you just
Yep.
put a calendar, and I'm really organized. I live through like on my calendar, and that's how I know what I need to do. And usually the night before, I just write down the things I need to do for the next day, just,
Hmm.
just in my mind. And I also find on the side, just to sometimes unwind, just like meditation helps. Aside from working out, just yeah. So I like to meditate, like a 10-minute meditation, or if I'm really tired, a quick like 15-20 minute nap. Um, so yeah.
Cool, cool. So, given that I guess, I'm really impressed with all of your habits actually that you've built up over time, because it sounds like you have a really great routine, and then plus you've been able to manage your 9 to 5 plus plus the side hustle. Do you consider yourself a workaholic at all?
No, I would say a
Hmm.
workaholic
And
has.
how do you respond to people who say you're such a workaholic? Because I'm sure that comes up, right?
I think people sometimes ask me, "You work so much," and maybe it's like, "Oh, maybe compared to you, I work so much," but compared to people that are trying to do huge things, and that's my
Sure,
goal. Like, I want to have a successful business. I want
sure.
my book to be purchased by every major university or students around
Hmm.
the world because I want to impact as many people as possible. But again, there's a balance, a fine line. I don't want to work myself to death and not have a
Hmm.
family or friends or
Sure.
ruin my health. So I work when I need to work,
Hmm.
but I'm not working at all times, and I'm not staying busy just to stay busy.
Hmm.
And I
Hmm.
think it's important to go out, see friends on the weekends, and party. If that's what you're into, or if maybe you're into like hiking, go hiking on the weekends. So
Hmm.
usually one day I make sure to have fun.
Hmm.
Sometimes 2 days I'll have fun, and then when I wake up in the morning, I'll just work until I go out the next night. During the week night, I usually don't like sometimes just like happy hours. If it's consistent like every day, I can't do it because I want to work on
Hmm.
projects, on LIFT especially, and I need to. I don't want to just make that a habit. If it's a check-in with once a month with a friend, a happy hour with a friend once every month, like that's great. Or just to continue building relationships, that's great. But if
Hmm.
you start having the routine of just party animal every night, then it's like you get what you put in. So
That's pretty exhausting too, partying every night. So, speaking of, you mentioned friends, family, hiking, things you do for fun, dating, all of those things. How do you fit those into your life, especially when, you've got a very customer-centric restaurant business or food business going on, plus the work that you do every day?
yeah,
I know that Google Calendar has become increasingly my friend over the last 7 years.
there you go. It has become mine as well.
Yeah.
With friends, I have a close group of close
Hmm.
friends that I like to see on the weekends. Sometimes I'll give them a call driving home from work. That's also really great. So
The 40 minutes that you spend there. Yeah.
I live in Princeton, so I typically go to New York City on the weekend. That's a lot. That's about an hour, 15 minutes of just free time. I can make calls, reconnect with friends I haven't spoken to in a while. Dating, I sometimes go out. I date on the weekends, not during the week. Typically not during the week. On the weekend.
Not that you should be going out on a date on a Tuesday anyway. That's not a date night. But anyways, topics aside.
If you live in New York City, you could date every night, right?
That is true. That is true. You can date every night in New York City, and that's a topic for our dating list.
There you
So,
go.
but yeah, okay. So you definitely seem like you have it pretty organized and it looks like it's working out pretty well for you then there too.
So yeah,
Yeah.
Lyft, we've been doing really well.
Mhm.
A lot of orders and reorders, and have been on in different blogs and newspapers. My book was the #1 internship book on Amazon.
Oh, wonderful! That's awesome.
Awesome. Um, and now we're speaking to a few universities about bringing them to their schools. So yeah, everything's going really well. Work's going really well. So I think, again, and I think it's important to check in. Do a daily or whatever, a weekly check-in. Just say like, hey, how's everything going? And when I look at everything, it consists of dating. It consists of health and nutrition. It consists of working out, sleep, and then my other companies. So I think it's taking that holistic picture and treating yourself like a machine, you want to be a well-oiled machine.
And how did you get to this level of, I think, mindfulness and self-awareness? I know that's not necessarily the topic today, but I just noticed that you have so many different things going on really well, and it's like it is that well-oiled machine. And I think for a lot of folks, maybe on Albert's list, especially those out in Silicon Valley, where it's always this go crazy, ridiculous, like fast-paced experience. How do we how do maybe folks in the Bay Area learn to be like you in that regard?
Well, I think it definitely takes time and practice. And
Mhm.
also, I've done a lot of like trainings, like personal development courses, which have
Sure.
helped significantly. I also think it depends on your like who you are as a person. There are some people that don't want to be this way, and you can't force them. I think since I was young, I've had this, but through different courses, through programs like Landmark Education, I've taken leadership courses. It's constant work on yourself and a huge. It's a commitment. You don't just get from zero to. It's like playing. It's like playing in the NBA. Most people don't go from high school to NBA, at least when the rules allowed it. They had to go to college and keep practicing and waking up early and taking at least 1,000 shots a day. So it's like constant practice, but you need to keep pushing and slowly getting there.
Yeah, I mean, I think the building of habits, and so in that similar sense, then we do have some younger folks in our group. So say if somebody was a college junior or even a high school senior, and they're watching this webinar right now, and they're saying, you know what, I want to be Zach someday. I want to be Albert someday because I want to own my own business, have the 9 to 5, and revel in all that glory. I guess if they interpret it as glory, what advice do you have for those kinds of folks, and what would you tell them to think about or steer clear of?
Well, I think, again, like taking a personal development course is extremely important. Like, for example, most successful people have a coach. They don't do it alone. And again, you don't have to spend thousands and thousands of dollars to take a couple trainings. It starts with you, and you have to work on yourself, and it could really help you see things differently or break through challenges, or it's like blind spots where you may not be getting somewhere and you don't know why. And that's kind of the importance of taking a personal development course like the one I've taken. Well, I've taken a few, but the one that's made most impact in my life was at Landmark Education, doing their curriculum, the forum, the advanced course, the leadership course, which was 6 months. So that's extremely important. And then aside from personal development and developing yourself, you have to just you gotta just start. So when I say you gotta just start, how I started, well, like one area I started with just a blog.
Hmm.
It was scary at first. I'm going to be honest, but
Hmm.
I post food photos every day. I was scared at first to post.
Yeah.
I was like, this is
Okay.
weird. And this was before it was super popular.
Right.
Everyone
Right.
was doing it. But like at first, I was uncomfortable. And then a few times posting it got easier and easier. And then you look back and you're like, wow, I've grown a lot. And I think it's really important. Just constantly challenge yourself, put yourself in uncomfortable situations. It's easier said than done. You say, oh, I'm going to put myself in an uncomfortable situation today. You get to
Hmm.
that uncomfortable situation, and guess what? You don't do it. It's the same.
Hmm.
So there's a difference between like motivating yourself only get so far. You really do have to have that breakthrough in terms of going through that situation. And I would say if you always have it easy, you may not be able to get there. So I mean, you see that consistently with successful people
Is they have something that they're breaking through, right?
breaking through. Maybe they had a challenge when they were younger. Um,
Hmm.
maybe they had something that was tough for them, and they were able to get past it and not be a victim. And I mean, this is
Hmm.
a whole different story, and we could go on and on. But I think that's important is just to keep pushing through.
And I actually think that's a great segue for our question. We have one from Kuna Nan here who asks, you mentioned just got to start doing it, quote unquote. How do you address risk when you are starting new projects so you are not losing financially? What resources do you seek? For example, do you utilize small business associations, funding, mentors, or do you have a different practice?
Yeah. So I think it's a
And talk about, I guess, co-founders in this situation too, because I know that in the traditional startup sense, people recommend those. And for serious side hustles like yours, do you also look to that as well?
yeah. So I think it's again a case by case basis.
It really is.
There are some people that need to work two jobs because
Hmm.
they need to pay for their family back home and pay their rent, and they can't afford a side hustle, or maybe they do a side
Hmm.
hustle where it's 2 hours a week because that's all they can do, and that's
Hmm.
really okay. So I think it's a case by case basis. So I don't want to just say how it should be, and I think my point of view may be different for other people. But in my point of view, it's when I look at essentially just doing it. I mean, there's the risk involved where it depends on your life. So
Hmm.
mine was, I guess I'll just talk for myself. I was starting my master's program at Syracuse where I had to start a startup company. So,
Mm.
and I
That
wanted,
was part of your curriculum?
yeah, so that I got this scholarship um, to be, because I was entrepreneurial and they saw me as that. And they're like, okay, we'd like you to start another company. And then started this company. So I was kind of, and it's not like I was already thinking of starting one. But
Hmm.
aside from that, so it was an easier route because I, first of all, didn't have kids or a spouse, and I wasn't working at the time. I was just going to school, so it was a little different. Now, would it be as easy? No, because I'm working now. If I had kids and a wife, would it be easy? No, it would be a lot harder. So again, circumstances change. Did that answer the question? You think?
Yeah, I think it would answer the question. I think that like the one of the common misconceptions of the modern digital business is that a modern digital business costs a lot of money. I
Yeah,
think that if you really want to lower your costs significantly, starting a blog can be free.
yeah,
The hosting can cost very little. The Shopify plugin is free, and maybe all you just do is pretty much pay shipping and for whatever business thing. And even when you're deciding whether your business works or not, you're not really incorporated as anything because as an individual, you have the ability to just function as a sole proprietorship.
yeah,
And so I even know that, like as running a business on its own, when you go out and you network or when you go and you buy new assets for your business or your side hustle, provided that you're making the right money, I think that you're going to see that there are a lot of tax advantages to all of that too. And so it's almost like buying a house, even though you see that $600,000 price tag. There's actually a lot that you can deduct after 1 year, and most people are tied into the 9 to 5, and they're not sure what entrepreneurship can legitimately bring them when, a lot of the media doesn't really focus on that.
And one thing to add as well is I always see people like, oh, I need a mentor. I'm going to be honest. The people that are always saying I need a mentor are usually not the ones that are going to find success. You just have to do it on your own. Like, you start relying on other people for your success, that's when failure occurs. You need to take
when the student is ready, the teacher will appear.
Exactly.
So, it's just you go out and you network and you formulate your message, as I mentioned so many times here in the webinars that we give. And really, that's just what you got to do. You can't sit at home and, wish upon a mentor like that and hopefully that mentor comes. You got to go out and find it.
And when you're doing cool things, people are also more likely to want to help you out or be your mentor, quote unquote. So if you're not starting because you say one day, because I need this, this, and this, I need a mentor, that's just doing a disservice to yourself. And you're not taking the responsibility or taking the initiative when you really can. And I think that's important.
And it's an element of your ability to attract the right people into your life as well, in addition to attracting the right kinds of customers that are going to change your business as well. Absolutely.
I've also seen people where, I need to trademark this and do this and this and this. And like sometimes it's like you're just starting. Again, I'm not a lawyer, so this is not legal advice. But like, it's like, how about you just start? And
yeah, let's talk about that for a moment. Like if you're starting a side hustle, like I thought about this a long time ago too, where it's like, do you need to start an LLC? Do you need to get like a business license? And the answer really is like, if you wanted to get all official, go down to your county assessor's office and get a DBA. DBA costs you $50. It'll last you for, I think, 5 years. And you can say something official like that. And the rest is kind of just going to come along as it comes along.
Yeah. Yeah, again, it's a case by case basis, and I don't want to give legal advice. And if you're working on a blog and you think you need trademark it and get all this corporation, like, have you even written an article? Like, you don't even know. Like, maybe you'll lose interest after a month. So I think you don't want. There's so many distractions. And like I said before, you could be working on so many things in your business, but focus on the most important, which in my case right now for LIFT Protein Muffins is to drive sales and get new customers and reoccurring customers. And that's what I focus on primarily. So there are other things I could be working on. So, and sometimes I do, but I don't want to put all of my work into those things when it may not be the most important thing.
Makes sense. So I think that as we head towards the tail end of this webinar, what I also want to talk about is really the meat of, I think, side hustles today. And so, where I'm running a side hustle when it comes to Albert's List, even though a lot of people feel like it's my full-time job. You're doing LIFT Protein Muffins. And say for the individual who's watching this webinar right now and who's thinking, I want to start my own side hustle, but I have no idea where to start or where to look. And this whole thing about how businesses start quicker than ever today is such a foreign concept to me. What are some things that you would tell someone as far as ideas to consider, brainstorming, figuring out your side hustle why, among all those things, and what kind of resources do you suggest?
Yeah, so you touched upon it before, like the importance of a co-founder. I don't think you necessarily have to do it alone. That doesn't say you need a mentor. But I think sometimes, let's say you have a really close friend and you guys are really passionate about something. It's like, why not write about it? Or maybe you are really into jewelry. Why not? And you make jewelry on the side. Why not start up an Etsy shop? And I was actually talking to this girl the other day, and she's like, well, I make jewelry, but I want to start and try, but I'm scared. And I was like, start an Etsy shop, post on Facebook. If no one buys, you'll learn so much. Chances are someone will probably buy. And that's the importance, just going out there and being on the field, being on the court, not watching from the stands. And that's what's so important, is just doing it. And and when it comes to a co-founder, it's also helpful at times. So like I'm in this 9 to 5, so my mom is actually my co-founder, which is awesome.
Okay.
We're really close. We have great communication, and it's fun because I also really, really trust her, and that's also really important to the co-founder because they can always screw you over. And that's important to have some, again, I'm not a lawyer, but to have some legal protection as well. And you see all the nightmare stories from the beginnings of Facebook and Snapchat. So, I mean, these things exist.
Absolutely.
Unfortunately, I have an awesome co-founder who's super supportive. She's my mom, and able to do work while I'm at work. And then when I get home, I'm able to do work. And then jump on a call and exchange ideas in the evening. And like the other day, I was just talking to her about like what she's going to be doing for the week. And like what are the most important things she could be doing for the week. So I think it's also a partnership, and you could get some awesome ideas through brainstorming, and it's also a lot more fun when you have someone who's super passionate about it working with you. For me personally, it does help. So if I was doing this alone, it would probably be nearly impossible, but it also just wouldn't be as fun.
You just need a lot of support. Like, I have Dominic, Michael, and Aditi here. And so, it helps me understand that at least I could probably, take the weekend off from Albert's List and it won't completely burn down to the ground. And I'll come back on Monday knowing that it's still here.
That where someone could pick you up.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
Establish that relationship where they don't blame you. It's like, oh, hey, I'm super busy, like swamped, or I'm exhausted today, and they're not like, well, get unexhausted. Like you want like a nice, good work. You're also able to pick up slack, and you're able to pick up slack. I mean, maybe you have responsibilities defined, but it doesn't mean it's so like a box where they're your partner, and you're spending so much time on it. It almost becomes like it's a partnership. And you're spending so much time with them or so much time working on the project. So you need to love what you're doing and have fun with what you're doing and not get overly, I can't say not get overly stressed. You may, but you need to be you need to have fun or you'll get burned out.
You do. Kuna Nan asks another question, and I think this question could work for both of us. What was the turning point that made your business from being something that you and a few people know to being something that is wider spread? Is that credited to grassroots efforts, social media, specific networking?
Yeah, so I would say the largest thing was getting a manufacturer, and that took. So luckily,
sourcing is one of the bigger challenges when it comes to your area, huh?
Yeah, it's tough, and I was not going to be baking. Again, I have a 9 to 5, so
yeah. Who has time to bake? Yeah,
that's not realistic. So that was like months of making calls. Unfortunately, J&J was starting in a few months, and I finished school, so I had this time, and I was working on making calls, and that was probably the least favorite part of when I was working at LIFT, because it was just like the uncertainty was there. We weren't selling anything. And it was just like, just the grueling, like making calls. And luckily we got someone on board and it was awesome. And that's when it really got me super excited again. And so I would say that's what brought us, like the Kickstarter helped. And then we went like a lull because then we were looking for our manufacturer, and then once we launched our Shopify site, which didn't happen overnight, it took me a month or two of like intensive research of what other sites were doing, food websites were doing. So it's not like finding inspiration. And then in terms of how did I grow? That's another topic which we could go into, but I would say that was the big turning point, was when we found that manufacturer.
Yeah. I would say that for Albert's List, I mean, we started out really small. 4 years ago, last month, we had like 22 people in the first month and 10 people in the second month. And really what allowed it to grow was part social media, part outreach to recruiters, and just the quality of jobs and the quality of opportunities that came through as we went along. And so I think for that, it was just, you saw people would spread it to their friends would spread it to their friends, and eventually you would just end up having, 10 degrees of separation between you and another person who just joined, who heard it from their mother, who heard it from their sister, who heard it from their brother, who heard it from some guy at the store, who heard it, in the middle of traffic on a busy street. So it just that's, I think, how a lot of these things end up, working out, and it actually benefits people pretty well.
And you offer a really valuable service that people, like especially students, and that they're like, it's a big value that you provide. So that's what also attracts people. So that's on a product side, you need to deliver something that people may struggle with, and people struggle with finding healthy food that's quick and on the go. So there is an opportunity. And that's the most important thing, is delivering value. And it's really about the customer. So, and like in your case, it's delivering high quality jobs, not these like spammy jobs, because you would be either attracting people, it's like, that don't excite you, or B, you wouldn't even have an Albert's List. So you provide value, and you have high quality jobs on Albert's List.
Very much so, very much so. So for maybe the person who's been watching this webinar and is looking to take their next step, what would your suggestion for their homework be to figure out what their side hustle is and what kind of mindset they should develop as they start their journey?
Yeah, so I think it's important. I mean, a few things. I think it's to take care of yourself, whether that's, so for me, sleep. Some people don't need sleep, or very little, but for me, being well rested, staying in shape by working out, eating healthy, going paleo. Take it. Just kidding.
You can promote paleo. This is your webinar. Go ahead.
But it's also just kind of also personal reflection. So again, like taking personal development course, leadership courses are extremely, there's like Dale Carnegie courses, there's all different types, like I mentioned before. And then it's also just figuring out what you're really passionate about. And something that's important too is, yes, you could start a blog, which is great, and that's totally fine to have your side hustle. But if you want to start a business, I would recommend having something, a service or product that also makes you money. I think that's important, versus saying, well, in like 4 years, I could sell the data, or I could get ads. I mean, it's hard. And again,
yeah, I mean, I don't think that it's necessarily bad that you can, say, build a quote unquote business that doesn't make you any money. I think there's a lot of personal branding benefits to it too.
Yeah, I would say I agree. And that's why I had the caveat where it's,
as long as you deliver value. I think value is the great equalizer.
And I think, but I guess what I was saying is, I see a lot of students who are like, oh, I want to start a business and not work.
And they want to do it for the money, I mean.
But oftentimes, I mean, yeah, they want to do it for the money. But I guess what I'm trying to say is, like, they're not even offering something that someone's willing to pay for.
Yeah.
And I agree. Like, I'm going to talk for myself. If I was writing a blog and I wasn't making money, fortunately, I have money from my full-time job to support me to have my own place, have my apartment. So I think it's also like looking in that respect, where if you want to start a business and you want that to be your full thing, starting a blog may be challenging just to make ad money from a blog versus, so I'm not saying go for the money, but I think you have to understand, if you commit to something, what will that potentially lead to? Because you're going to be committing a lot of your time. So I think before you start, really understand what that roadmap may look like. And it's going to change. And you'll pivot. But I think it's having certain expectations and understanding where you may go in 6 months to 5 years.
Very true. Very true. Cool. Well, I think we're I think, towards the tail end of this webinar. Do you have any final thoughts you'd like to share with the audience today?
I would say just eat some LIFT Protein Muffins.
I love it. I love it. Yeah, we actually pinned your website in the comments here. So, I think your value prop is, $5 a meal for a LIFT Protein Muffin, right?
Exactly. But also, if anyone has questions,
Yeah.
feel free to email me. Don't just say, "Hey, I need a job," because those aren't good questions.
Yeah, I mean, I know that you work at a really, really well-known global company too that allows that pretty much creates half the things that we all consume on a day-to-day basis.
Yeah, and I think it's
Yeah.
important. I think this is a skill as well as when you reach out to people,
hmm
have pointed questions, and I'm busy, but I'm
hmm
okay with answering questions. I love helping people as well, but have
Absolutely.
questions, and then I'd be happy to answer.
Yeah, definitely, definitely. Well, cool. I think from
Robert,
what's that?
you have my email to like display.
Yeah, I can drop that in the comments section, and folks can get in touch with you and learn more about LIFT Protein Muffins. And I think, really, from my side too, I would offer the same advice that folks here may be looking for, as far as what they want with their side hustle experience. I think Alex said, "Oh, Alex says, how do you avoid the whole IP issue while employed?" So IP would be information. I guess basically not conflicting with your current company.
Yeah,
Because I assume that Johnson and Johnson probably makes something out of there in the world that's very like muffin-like, right?
no, they actually don't. But I started Lyft beforehand. Didn't have an issue with it. So obviously, it's a case by case basis. If you're working at a company and let's say you're working at an Apple and you start a web company, I'm not sure if they're going to be cool with that. So again, that's
Yeah.
to your HR department beforehand and going about it responsibly.
Right, right. That makes sense. I think that makes sense. I also think, yeah, that you have to really consider it. I mean, if you do compete, then, obviously you have to take a backseat role when it comes to how much you put yourself out there, which could be, in turn in conflict with how you run your business.
Yeah, and I would think also like at J&J, I'm not promoting
Hmm.
my product. I think that would be very
Sure. You're not going to the cafeteria and giving people a sample of your protein muffin, and that kind of thing.
yeah. I mean, if they were like, hey, which they've done before, which is like, hey, bring some in. I spoke with my director. He's like, yeah, bring some in, and that's okay. But again, don't be slimy about it. Just I think I live my life with high integrity. I mean, integrity is important to me, and doing the right thing is important to me.
Hmm
I
hmm
think if everyone lives their life like that, that's another way of getting further in
For
life.
sure.
And it's pretty obvious to see when you're just using someone or when you're being unethical,
Hmm
destroy
Yeah.
relationships and destroy future opportunities. So I would say just ending off is do the right thing and just do it.
Yeah, just do it. I think I like that Nike term, and I think we'll leave off with that. So thank you once again, Zach, for joining us. If you want to get to know more about Zach Schleien, you can go to Amazon and you can get his latest book, Hacking the Internship Process. You can, I guess, read the book while eating your LIFT Protein Muffin and really get to know what it's like from him to live that healthy lifestyle. And you can get in touch either through his website, through his LinkedIn, or through his various different web properties and different channels. So I think with that, we're going to go ahead and conclude for today. Thank you again for joining us, and stay tuned for more interesting webinars coming up on Albert's List, including actually a chat with your co-author on hacking the internship process from the hiring manager perspective. So you'll have that to look forward in a couple of weeks as well. And we wish you all a very good night. Thank you again, Zach.
Thank you.